from one, like, you know, seeing you roll up with the 3 boards, pulling them out, you know, looking at them, like the aesthetics of the board, like the overall shape of the board, it's beautiful. Welcome to The Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman. Today we are at Channel Islands Surfboards in Santa Barbara, California with Devon Howard. Devon, welcome, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, Trip, it's good to see you again. Last time we were on the East Coast for the Mikey February tour.
Yeah, and this time we're out in California. We actually just got to surf C Street this morning, and you brought your quiver of the new Channel Islands Noserider, the Wayne Rich design and shape. Yeah. And also I got a chance to ride the Magic 9.8 that was scanned and put into production. Yes. And got to ride, you know, 9.8s, 9.6s, challenging conditions, but also real good session just to get the good feel for the board and talk about the board. So let's jump in to the Noserider, hear a little bit about the project that you did with Wayne, and also how this board differs from the Channel Islands log.
Yeah, perfect. So this is a follow-up to the CI log, which you and Cody talked about. Yep. Cody rode the board, and that genesis of that was kind of under Britt Merrick's direction. Hey, we want to have a really good log. So, but being Channel Islands, we wanted something that still performed well off the middle and the tail. So that was our answer. We're very proud of that board. That board stands in a class of its own. This is in addition to it. We wanted something to follow up and complement it. So with the focus of the log being off the middle and the tail, and I would say an okay Noserider, it's more of a tip to tail balance board. This board is more emphasis on the nose. So, you know, you have customers that are like, Trip, if I'm riding a longboard, I really want to focus on nose riding. What is going to make that a lot easier for me? Yeah. So that was really what our focus was. And we went back and worked with Wayne. That went so well the first time. And Wayne's part of the family. He's been with Channel Islands, not with us, but we surf with him. He's known the Merricks for decades. And the challenge sort of put to Wayne was, if I'm surfing in a day where I don't feel like doing the tip to tail dance and continuous movement, but I just really want to hang out on the nose, let's do it. And so he and I worked on several versions, and where we landed was on this board. We call it the CI Noserider. And again, it being at Channel Islands, we wanted it to have a performance element. So in our mind, it was, let's not overdo the nose riding, make a giant trash can lid nose. We want something that when we get back to the tail, we still want to be able to turn. It still has to perform, but how far can we push the nose riding without, you know, sacrificing too much turn? So that was the basis of the board, the concept.
In the past, boards that, at least that I've ridden like this, are either way out on way out on the spectrum and like hard, like a lot of times difficult to ride. Yeah. Like super flat rocker sections and really kind of critical to ride, like not a forgiving, easy board to ride, or a board that's kind of characterized like with that super wide nose that might be easy to nose ride like off onto the shoulder, and then you lose the section of the wave. And that middle ground of like kind of that sweet spot of like the target, like what you're trying to hit with a project like this is oftentimes like missed. Yes. Like what do you see as being like the design elements in the board like that are gonna tick all the boxes like for the accomplished nose rider, but also like for somebody that's like trying to learn how to nose ride better?
I wish there was an easy answer, but let's just fire through it as quickly as you can.
Okay.
From nose to tail, all of the design features are integrated. You know, it's like a fine-tuned vehicle where the chassis, like everything, the steering, even the shell, everything works together. It's the same with this. So I think one of the main features that we start with, and Britt Merrick will always speak to this, that he learned from his father, is start with a really good rocker. Yeah. So right out of the gate, the rocker is different than a lot of nose riders. Most nose riders have low entry rocker in the nose. It's called reverse rocker. It's kind of from the David Nueva school, from Bing Surfboards, and like it's been carried on since the 60s. I'm a fan of it. I've ridden a lot of those boards and I like them. And those will be low in the front with a lot of kick in the tail. We've taken a different approach where we're offering more rocker in the front. We're offering some tail kick, but not as extreme. So, you know, it's like a pendulum. It's like, where are you bending the rocker? Okay. And so I think that immediately is a different approach out of the gate. And the result we're getting is we're getting a really good braking system, which integrated with the concave, which we'll get to. And then we also, for people who aren't, let's say, a pro or high level, having a little more rocker in the entry allows for a wider, I call a sweet spot, meaning you don't have to have precise footwork or precise placement in the wave. If you have a really low rockered board, really knifed out, it's very unforgiving. You know, we all know if you take the wrong line, you're walking up there and the board either takes off and gets too fast and outruns the pocket, which is a problem because now you can't really get your nose ride, right? Your feet will be far apart and the board takes off. Oh, what just happened? So that's one problem. The other problem could be that it doesn't fit in the curve of the wave, especially the waves where you guys live and they jack up and they dump. It's like a really fast section at Rincon or Malibu, but it's a little bit shorter. If the rocker's too low, that's a massive liability. You've ever had water come up over the bow, or you just you purl as you're walking up because you're like, what just happened? Or the board slips out. With this rocker profile that Wayne's worked on for decades, it matches the pace of the wave. So as you walk up, it slows down and it puts you right in the spot. And you don't feel any bobbles. You don't feel anything that's sketchy. So I think rocker's a big part of it. The other feature that I think really stands out is not going with a giant nose. We started out the conversation with. A lot of nose riders will focus on like a 19-inch nose, and that looks cool. You're like, okay, that looks really stable. And I think those have merit when you're riding out on the shoulder, but we're Channel Islands, where our focus is always going to be the best surfing and in the pocket. That's where we want to put you. So the narrower nose allows you to ride higher and tighter and deeper in the pocket. Now, if you go too narrow, then you don't have enough room and enough of a platform. So we have a balance where we're sort of that like 18 and a quarter, 18 and a half. We're on the lower end, depending on how long a board you go, it scales up. So I think those are the major features, rocker and nose outline. And then, I mean, I could go on forever, but there's also the way that the rail line works. And then this tail, we can show people an outline of the board.
Can I talk about the rocker real quick?
Yeah,
or actually ask a question?
Yeah, finish up with the rocker.
Because that was one of the first things that I noticed when you put this thing on rail, like in the parking lot when we were getting ready and you started like kind of showing me like things that were going on, is that in this section of the board, there was more rocker than I had expected, like looking at it. Like I just expected the thing to be flat.
Sure.
And so more rocker up here. And the way that I think something to just ask about and focus on is you're connecting this as a brake, like as an actual brake, like to slow you down. Where I think most surfers are looking at nose rocker as like saving a late drop or fitting into the curve of the wave. But in particular to this board, like you're saying, like this is gonna slow the board as you get forward on the board. It's gonna slow the board down and keep it in the pocket. Yeah,
there's two answers to it. Yes, it does do that. Wayne Rich quoted Tom Morey the other day that Tom Morey always said that concave is a brake. So when we get into the concave, you'll see we didn't gouge it out. It's not a crazy deep concave. So we have a good amount of concave, but it's shallower than other people's nose riders. And the reason being is we still want some speed up there. And then, so it goes back to that integration thing. It's maybe a little bit less concave than some other nose riders out there. But by adding the rocker, now we're working together with the concave and that rocker, and it creates a brake.
Okay.
It just also happens that as you're walking up, the board fits in the curve of the wave more. So now the tail's going up and locking up into the position.
Right.
If you have the low rocker, I don't want to give all these secrets away because what if, everyone's going to make the same thing. Just kidding. But it's like, the general idea is if it's lower rocker, now, as I walk forward, the board's going to take off. So it is using as a brake. It's also helping fit in the curve of the wave, and it all works together with the rail and the fin, of course, and it puts you right in the sweet spot. So some of those videos that you'll see while we're talking, you'll notice that the board, you'll see Troy Mothershead from True Ames. You'll see Yuta, our friend from Japan. You'll see that they're matching the pace of the wave. They're not outrunning it and they're not falling out of it. So it's just like anything in surfboard design. You'll talk to any shaper, especially someone like a Wayne Rich or a Britt Merrick. They've been doing this for decades. they have formulas for them that have been worked out over decades. And so while it does appear to have more rocker than most you've seen, I think the proof's in the pudding with the surfing.
Okay.
You could just watch the way it goes through the water.
Right.
And you know, you rode it this morning. The waves were crappy, but you got a taste of it at least.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think for most people that are not as deep into the Noserider as you are, they wouldn't associate that. You know, they would just think about the nose rocker saving a late drop and fitting into the curve of the wave and nothing else, you know. But that's interesting to hear. You want to flip it over? You want to look at the concave?
And I think just one last note on the nose. I think the overall education of the market has been bigger, wider, flatter equals great nose ride, and that's. I'm not going to say it's the furthest thing from the truth, but there's so much more to the story than that of what goes into making a good nose rider. And Wayne and myself and many others, you know, there's other people out there of their other theories. A lot of the magic that we'll get into is occurring back here. It's not only what's going on up there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what people can get really fixated on. Oh, it doesn't have a big enough nose. It's not going to nose ride well. And so we having, you know, the experience to know that, we worked on finding what I would call a balanced nose rider.
Okay.
So let's flip it over. So I guess we could finish up on concave since we've been talking about the nose area. If you have a look at that, you'll notice that it's a blended concave. And so there are two styles you'll see. You'll see blended, and then you'll see some people do the teardrop. We're not interested in the teardrop because it's my experience and Wayne's experience. Together we're on the same page on a lot of things. We like the feeling, the tip to tail movement. So when I'm walking forward and back, there's no lurching or hiccup. When on some teardrops, I'm sure someone would feel different and argue about this, but my experience when I walk forward on a teardrop, I don't like feeling it all of a sudden just engaging. Like I just hit like a gear, but it wasn't a smooth transition. The reason it's blended is we want a very smooth transition. These are really subtle things, but as you're walking forward, you don't want something that's going to make your hand or your body kind of go, whoa, whoa, like that. It took off or it slowed down. So that's why we blend it.
So Devon, diving into this concave, like when I'm down here looking at it, it's like you said, blended. It's got like this kind of chined rail or soft chine rail, like what's in the CI log. And you were saying that's a signature Wayne.
It is
kind of rail. And what is that soft chine rail doing?
So you think I'll put this straight edge on there just for people that can kind of see. We'll do a couple insert shots, but so you can see the concave area here. It's a decent amount, but it's not crazy deep.
Yeah.
And so what we're relying on is this area. Wayne doesn't call it this. These are my words. I call them pontoons because I grew up Hobie catting like we all did, and it makes me think of that sort of catamaran. And I said that to him and he smiled, and it's like, yeah, kind of along those lines. And this is just reducing the surface contact so that we're keeping speed up here. And it's, again, finding that balance of keeping pace with the wave, because when you walk up to a Rincon Malibu wave and get on the nose and it goes up in the pocket, if you have too much rocker, you'll fall at the back. If you have too low a rocker, you'll outrun the pocket. And so he's working with two different rocker lines. He's got a rocker line out here. That's what this is giving you. And there's a different rocker line inside here. And they're all working together, and it's lifting, pushing, and slowing down at the same time. It's like if you were in a race car or an airplane and you had 2 or 3 levers you could pull to give you the effect that you're after.
Okay.
So, and you can see the feature, you know, when you go on the side. It's a little hard if you don't have something flat to look at. But, you know, you're looking at the rails coming up to the deck, and it comes up all the way through. There's no, just like any traditional longboard, there's no edge.
There's no hard edge.
There's no hard edge. And the reason being is this is a traditional longboard, and like the CI log, the Noserider, we wanted to stay committed to that genre. Now you can put tucked edges. Those are things that you can do, but it's our belief that you get a better overall, smoother ride and better nose riding when you don't have edge in the tail. So as this nose concave blends into the board, you'll notice that you've got this nice slight roll. There's no flat areas in the board. And what this does is as you're walking to the board, it allows it to settle into the water. If you have a really flat board, they do go faster, but they can, have you ever been on a board that feels a little tippy?
Yeah.
That tends to happen if the bottom's too flat. So this has been around, people have known this for a while, but if you're ever on a board that's tippy, get a straight edge and see if it's just straight across. And then as you come back into this area, this is what Wayne likes to call the sole bump. It kind of gives like a ball bearing gimbal feel. So when you go to set up for a nose ride, you have a lot of control and you can lift and move the board around to find the line that you want to walk up. And a lot of times, you know, you'll see really good surfers lift and stall and they're kind of waiting and they're looking for that section and then they hit it. And they want to know when they hit it and run to the nose that they can totally rely on this board moving up into that pocket and then the tail holding in really well because of what's going on back here, which is the rail line. If you want to talk about the rail line, how it continues back here and it goes and it comes up toward the deck. It's not a down rail. Like the CI log has a lower rail in the tail, but no edge.
No edge.
And that's why anyone that has one will tell you that it does the craziest best turns of a log type of board. So we're giving up a little bit of that to get a much better nose ride. So CI log is, I would say fairly, I feel confident saying it's an okay nose rider, but it was never sold that way. It was sold as, if you're someone who never goes to the nose, be in the middle of the tail, CI log's great. But if you've mastered that or you want something different or just didn't even experience the CI log and you want to go all in on nose riding, it's okay to give up a little bit of the turning because of what you gain with the nose riding.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was interesting hearing about the brake that's available through here, like the slowing down. Can you talk a little bit about what the tail and the rails are doing to hold the board in the pocket of the wave when you're on the nose?
Yeah, sure. If we, maybe just for a second, just to illustrate this, if we flip it back over, the way that nose riders are designed is we're inviting water up onto the rail and onto the deck. And we want it so that it feels like someone's hand is holding your tail locked in. You're not thinking about this. You don't ever want to be up there thinking, oh gosh, I wonder if the tail's going to drop out. Because if it does, now you're doing a helicopter, you're going sideways, you're out of the wave, you could potentially kill someone because you're going sideways and you have no control. So when you bring the rail up, and that's what I think shapers like, especially Wayne, really understand, are really good, is integrating that rail line so that it does that effect. It's inviting water up here. And if you look closely at these boards, you'll see that in the tail, if you want to take a look yourself, see how it comes from the bottom and it comes up?
Up, yeah.
Yeah.
Like way up in the back.
Yeah,
right
so
here.
this is, again, it's inviting water up as opposed to releasing water. We want to hold on to water back here. And at the same time, when we come back to do a turn, it's like we're trying to do everything, right? We still want some release in a way when we're turning. So that's this rail whole concept that he's come up with gives you the best of both worlds. When you're on the nose, it's bringing water up where you need it. When you step back and put your tail here, with the combination of this style of fin as well, you're getting enough release. And you can see, I think Troy Mothershead, we have a video clip of him doing just as good of a turn as you would see on any log, which I thought was like a real testament to the design. And again, whatever we're doing in CI, we try not to just go 100% on one aspect. We still got, people think of us for performance in all areas. And even in traditional longboarding, it's nothing like a shortboard, obviously. But within this genre, we're trying to give people the very best that they can get.
Let's talk about the stringer. You guys put a lot of thought into the type of wood, the amount of wood. Yeah. Let us in on that, like kind of what the thoughts are and like what the performance is.
Yeah, so basswood, we really love basswood. It has the best sort of strength to weight ratio and the best spring. Some people think basswood's a little boring. It's not as sexy, which I get that. You know, it's kind of a plain bleached out wood. We really like the look and the feel of redwood, so we wanted a combination. We wanted a combination of something that would give it that integrity and that flex and feel and strength that we know and love. But in addition, add something sort of sleek and beautiful that speaks to this genre of board. I think when you get into traditional longboard world, because of the type of surfing we're doing and because of the tradition and the heritage of this genre of board, I think this is a real nod to, you know, like respect and tradition. But it's not just for looks. When you do 3 stringers, I'm not a huge fan of the 3-stringer boards where the stringer comes way out to the rail.
Right.
That's because Wayne and I are into flex. We want to feel the board have torsional flex for 2 reasons. When we're going through a turn, I want to feel it bending through and then snap out and spring into the next part of the wave. And I also like the feeling of the flex as I go to the nose. Not too much flex. You don't want that kind of soft, spongy feel. Right. But there's a gas pedal effect when you walk up and it just slowly bends a little bit right at that very last moment. It helps as like a little bit of a throttle up there. It's a really cool feeling. When you have 3 sticks close together in the center of the board, it's not as stiff. Furthermore, when you use redwood is much more, it's a more flexible wood than bass. So you'll see a lot of people do T-bands. In the CI log, in the clear, we do a T-band where we've got an 1/8 redwood, 1/8 bass, 1/8 redwood. On this one, we're doing 3/16 redwood on the outside, and we're doing an 1/8" bass on the inside.
Okay.
And it's integrated. It kind of gives like a nice suspension feel to it.
The one thing that I want to at least touch on at some point, like in this conversation, is the combination of the 2 of you guys together. Because I think it's worth diving into.
Sure.
You know, because there's really good shapers
Yeah.
that with no guidance could just go off in the wrong direction.
Sure.
They could be really good at what they're doing, but and then there's also really good surfers that don't know about boards at all or have a direction that they want to go. They could go in every direction. But the cool thing about these projects that you've been doing with Wayne, you know, whether it's the log or now this board, the Noserider, is one, the waves that you have access to.
Sure.
You know that you have Rincon and C Street and Malibu in your backyard.
Yeah.
And people look at waves like that and they're like, oh, well, you guys have a perfect wave. Like everything's going to nose right there. But if you look at it in the other sense, it's like a test tank. If you think about like, you know, a super high end testing of like, you know, anything in the water or a wind tunnel for the air, it's almost like you have that in your backyard at Rincon. And then you have you as a surfer who is at a high end level for this type of board, but also with a vision of like what you want to create, like working with Wayne, who's oftentimes in the water with you, surfing at a high level or on the beach, watching you surf the wave, and the 2 of you guys having these discussions. And that's, I don't know, it's something that's worth highlighting. And,
I'm happy to talk about it.
Just the relationship that you guys have and the amount of time that you put into the prototyping and stuff like that, the number of boards you go through and the feedback.
Well, I think it starts at the top. So Britt Merrick is our lead designer on everything we do. And Britt is a high performance shortboarder. He grew up at Rincon. He's been around the best surfers in the world his whole life. And Britt has a respect and a love for the craft. And so when it came to these types of projects, Britt wanted to defer to someone that we could trust and that we love, that's part of the family. So I think it starts from there. It's this trust from somebody who truly is family. And everyone that works in this building knows Wayne. They've surfed with him. So he really is truly part of the CI team. And then beyond that, we're able, just like any top CT surfer can draw on Britt's knowledge for design, we're able to go to that well with Wayne. And Wayne has been building boards for top surfers for decades. He also has a lot of experience with surfers on the East Coast. He has a lot of really good surfer team rider folks in Virginia Beach, down in Florida, and up and down the coast, and then the same over in Japan. So he does have these Formula One waves. He has a Malibu to pull from. He's got C Street. At times Rincon. Rincon we look to more as like a shortboard wave or maybe a mid-length. But he's got a vast experience, and what he's always aiming for is finding a really balanced approach. And so it's beautiful that the things that work at Malibu or the kind of running point waves also happen to work at running beach breaks.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is really cool. That's not always the case with shortboards, or a little bit different. But I think with longboards, because they're primarily just sort of flat on the surface for a good part of the wave, the good rocker is working in all these different situations. And so we're able to draw from that. And then my own experience, and I'm getting older, I'm 51 now, and I'm looking to extend my ability to surf at a high level for as long as I can. So I'm able to draw off of Wayne's experience so I can articulate things. The relationship of anybody with a shape, you don't need to be a pro surfer to have a good relationship with your shaper. You just have to have a feeling and an ability to articulate it to that person. And it just so happens that Wayne and I are friends for decades from club contests.
All right.
And we've had this wonderful opportunity to go yet again. And I think this is a result of respect for tradition and doing things the right way. Wayne is a lot like my father. My father was a Finnish carpenter, and he was really into detail. Measure twice, cut once. And this entire process with Wayne reminds me of my relationship with my father, where sometimes you want to maybe do something quicker or maybe cut a little corner, like, come on, Wayne, let's. And he's like, no, man, we don't do it that way. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Yeah, you're right. You know, like, hey, we could do this thing like on a computer, we could do it quicker. He's like, no, we don't do it that way. And he gets out his planer and he starts doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm an idiot. Why did I even suggest that? So it's like this really fun relationship.
It sounds like a good balance.
Yes, no, it's great. And we're lucky at Channel Islands that we get to partner in with somebody he truly is like an underground type of guy, you know? And so anybody that gets one of these, you know, as of right now, Wayne is actually shaping all of the Noseriders that you'll find out there right now for the time being until that changes in the future. If you see that, you'll look for a WR on the deck. Wayne's been shaping these. So that, I think, really has just pulled this whole thing together. You know, we've got this development relationship. He's doing these boards currently. And, you know, in the future, if he chooses not to do them, that's okay, because he's such a master. He could train people down the road to do the type of shaping he's doing. But right now, we feel blessed to be able to work with him.
That's cool. That's a good story about like the relationship, how it works, and also how well you guys get along, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I'm looking at the fin, right?
Sure.
This like line of sight.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this fin.
Yeah.
Again, like the fin on any board is a big part of the performance.
Sure.
And when you guys are designing boards, you're also designing fins alongside of it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the fin and the sizing.
So if we rewind the clock quickly to the CI log, we made that CI log fin, which was a rakier version of the Greeno 4A, which we all love. I've surfed that fin for over 10 years, love it. But there was a little bit of a liability with the Greeno fin in that it's quite up and down. So it's a really pivotal fin, which can be great. But with the narrow tip, sometimes the tail would drop out when you didn't really want it to. So by putting more rake in it, we solved that problem with the CI log fin. So when we developed the board, we were riding the CI log fin in it, and I liked it. It turned well, and it was nose riding pretty good. But I was thinking, man, surely we can get more out of this board. And Wayne was saying the same thing. And so we tried a few different fins. He has a harmonic fin that's like a hatchet fin or a barn door. They're really straight up and down. Those are a classic nose riding fin. The Model T had them, different, the Nueva Noseriders had them. A lot of people have had those fins. And I like those fins, but I've got a little bit of PTSD from them because they don't turn in flow. Like, I want to do more of a rail turn than a tail turn. So those are pivot fins.
Yeah.
And they do great tail turns. I'm not knocking them, and that's for a certain feeling, but I've kind of moved past that. I feel that you could get the same effect of better nose riding, but can we get a better turn? So that's where this fin comes in. And the magic of the fin is going to be a lot of area in the base. So it's very like upright in the base area. If you take a look at it, this area is quite wide. So this has a lot more area than you'll see in a lot of fins. And then we keep it still pretty upright to this area, but then so that we have release on the turn, he worked on these curves himself. We're able to get release out of the tip. And then we were we partnered with True Aims on this one. So it truly was a group effort. The Chuck Ames has been, I think he's been foiling fins for 45 years or more. Troy is over there. He's one of the owners, and he's also a high-level surfer himself. So we had Troy, Chuck, Wayne, and myself all working together. It was really fun. Troy brought down, I think, a dozen fins of existing fins. Let's try these. We put in a bunch. We spent a whole day down at the beach swapping out fins. We narrowed it down to about 3 fins that were giving us a feeling that was improving the board from the CI log fin. Not a knock on the CI log fin, it just wasn't giving us that extra level of nose riding we were after. And then we threw down some curves. Chuck came in with this great foil, and kind of the rest is history. And it is integrated to this. Troy has had other people. I haven't tried it on other boards, but I've been told that this also works well on other nose riding style boards.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the sizing on the fins?
Just 2 sizes. I think we've got one that's tucked away down here. So we've got 2 colors. And actually, if we grab this other one, this is 9.75. And I would say that this is for your smaller surfer. If you're probably 150 pounds or under, give or take, definitely go with the 9.75. If you're pushing north of that, kind of 160 and above, or a taller, leaner person, I'd go with the 10 1/4. So 10.25
okay,
and 9.75. We've got 2 colors, and depending on when this video comes out, True Aims is introducing a 3rd color that's multicolor. It's a multicolor fin. So at some point that'll be available. Maybe even when this video goes live, it'll already be available.
So as he's foiling it away, the different colors reveal.
Yeah, so they did a tricolor one, I believe, that was inspired by one of the colors of the board. So this board comes in a lot of really cool colors, and so they made a fin that kind of integrated with it. It's pretty cool. Talking
about color, you guys put some thought into the way that you're doing the tints and the color combos and the wet sand versus the gloss. Can you run us through colors are colors, and like different colors are gonna like kind of suit different people and their taste and everything, but give us a once over on why you went wet sanded on the bottom and the rails, and then a gloss on the deck.
Yeah, so we went all in on the colors. As I said earlier, this is a real nod to tradition and craftsmanship, and that's what we want to do at CI. And we wanted to put our best foot forward with the finish. And so we've got, starting with just real quickly with the colors before we get into the polish, we have 4 different colors and we have a clear. So there's 5 choices. We've got a burnt orange, we have a burnt mustard, we have this one that's in front of us. This is a red inlay with a dusty blue bottom and rail. And then the other one's really cool. It's a color over color. It's electric grape on the deck, which is kind of like a purple, and then a red on the bottom. And all of these are tints, by the way. They're not opaques, they're tints. And when that color over color wraps, you get kind of a wine color on the rail. So there's kind of something for everybody. If you want to make more of a statement, you can get one of the loud ones. A lot of people like this red inlay. It's got a really cool vibe to it. And then with the finish, you can kind of see on the camera here. So going back to performance, Wayne and I, and pretty much every CI board, we like the feel of a sanded finish. Now it could be sanded gloss, or you could, if you don't want to have the gloss, you don't want the extra weight or that extra layer of resin, you can just do sanded. We love that sort of satin finish, the feel of it. I grew up riding boards with polished rail and bottoms, and you know, some people will laugh at this and say, "There's no way that's true," but I find them to be sticky. Mikey February would find it to be sticky. Like, they look cool. Polish looks great. We even have a Stab in the Dark board here that Ichilo, we won the Stab in the Dark with it. Ichilo rode the board, and Stab asked for polish on the deck and the bottom, and Britt at the last second sanded off the bottom. Went against the rules. We won the whole thing. And I think because everyone else had polish, he was feeling the difference. So really good surfers can feel, there's the drag coefficient that you heard about.
Coefficient and drag.
That Wayne talks about. And he's like, look at America's Cup boats. He goes down the list. And of course, there's people out there who will laugh us out of a room for that. But I think if you're a good enough surfer, you will feel the difference. So we're going with, always we're going to go with what feels right for us. We want it at the very highest level, and we want the customer to be able to have access to that. So the polish on the deck was more of just kind of an ode to tradition. A lot of boards do have that polish, and it has a really nice pop and effect because you can really see the wood, you can see the weave. It really showcases the beauty of really good resin work. And so the downside to if there's a downside to satin, it's only that it can make the finish look a little bit milky sometimes, but when it's wet, that goes away. But when it's dry on the shop rack, you can kind of look at it and go, why is it kind of milky? But if you just you probably shouldn't do this, but licked your finger and went like that, you'll see what it looks like in the water. And that when it's wet, that kind of milky look to it goes away, but you have the full benefit of the feel of the board.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, there's plenty. I spent my entire youth wet sanding all my boats to go faster.
So we're not full of it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's talk about down at C Street today. You kind of went into the sizing and like kind of the weights of the surfers. You know, because there's, if I get this correct, it's 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, 10.0.
Correct. Yeah.
So run us through that range and like kind of the weights that are best. Surfer weights like for each size.
You and I are roughly the same size. So I'm 6 foot, 195-ish, just depends on the season. And that, generally that size human is gonna be really stoked on a 9.8.
Okay.
And because it's a Noserider, give yourself a little bit of extra runway for those steps. Now you and I could ride a smaller one, but we're gonna lose the real estate to get in those extra steps. I think if you're sort of 5'9", 5'10", that range, maybe 160 to 175 pounds, somewhere in there, give or take. 9.6 is perfect. I think the middle sweet spot for most people is going to be 9.6. Now there was a lady that was in here today who bought one, she's 5'7". She went with the 9.6, which I was a little surprised by, but she explained to me that she's gone through a lot of different boards, and the way that she takes her steps, because we're all a little different. Some of us have our height in the legs, and some of us have our height in the torso. She was finding that she would end her step just like a few inches shy of the nose, and she was getting frustrated, and she was riding 9.2s and 9.4s. She rode her friend's 9.7, problem solved. So she went with a 9.6. So there's guidelines, but I think you have to also know yourself with like your past history. Now, if you have no experience with getting the longboard, I think 9.8 is going to be guys in our size, that sort of 5'11", 6'1", 190, 210, that range. If you are our size and want extra steps, go for the 10-footer. That's like the ultimate sidewalk. And because of the way the board's designed, you'll still be able to turn it. It's not going to be a boat. Wayne has very fine-tuned foiled rails. They're not super thick on the rail. So I think that's a bonus. Then go down to 9.4. 9.4 would be somebody who's under 160 pounds probably. And it isn't always off the height at that point, because if you are 5'10" but 140 pounds, you're gonna be stoked on the 9.4. You'll be able to whip it around and everything. If you are 125, 135 pounds, you're going 9.2. If you're 125 and under, you're at 9.0.
Okay. No, that helps out a ton. One interesting thing that when we were out there surfing today, which again was super helpful, we're riding two 9.8s. We're riding the Magic 9.8, which was the final prototype, which is right here with us. And you started out on that board. You started me on a 9.8 that didn't make the cut. Still a really good board. But was thicker. And being a big guy, and small waves that were sectiony. I'm like, my go-to is always like throw more foam at it to solve the problem, especially when the waves were like, what, this big or something? And so I'm thinking, well, more foam is gonna help here, not hurt. I rode that board, liked it, and then, but got my best waves on this board. And when I got on this board, you made the joke, it's gonna feel like a performance shortboard because of how foiled out it is. So the two things that I wanna share is that the 9.8's not a big board, because I think a lot of times like a 9/8 Noserider can feel like a really big,
sounds big,
bulky board.
Yeah.
Where the way that Wayne foils out the rails, it actually felt like super sexy.
Yes.
And when I got on the wave, what I found in surfing it was that it was actually easier to surf, because there was like those like sections of waves like with a hump that you had to go over. There was a lot of stuff going on in that small space, and the board maneuvered more quickly and got through that, and actually nowhere near your nose rides, but I got the closest to a nose ride, and the furthest down the line and the fastest trim speed on the smaller of the two boards in tiny gutless surf.
Yeah, so the one that you rode was part of our workup, and it came out a little too thick. So we, based off that board, that exact one you rode, we got the board, we had to like make sure it was thinner to get it as close as we could to this, because when I rode the Magic one, it's really hot rodded out for someone like me who's surfing at the highest level. So we were like, let's bump it up a little bit for the average person so it's not too thin. We went a little too far with it, but I wanted you to try it just to have as a benchmark. And so the one that's going to market is going to feel much closer to the one that you rode. So we really like matched this one here. And Wayne himself I said to Wayne, hey, I want to nose ride even crazier nose rides. I mean, I want to do like 9, 10, and 10-0. He's like, why do you want to do that? You don't need to do that. And I went against his wishes, and I went and had a bigger one made. And I really didn't nose ride any better. I think if anything, I gave up the overall performance of the board. So I went and I stuck with the 9/8. And I think that's helpful for people to know as like a benchmark of like, where do they want to be?
Right.
These boards pack in a lot more foam than what you think per your experience. So like you were able to ride the 9/8. I watched your trim speeds, and you know, because I'm always, I want to see how everyone else is. I know how I ride them, and I look back, I was like, whoa, okay, you're jamming. The waves were terrible, and so I think that was a good sign that this amount of volume and that kind of foil works for people our size.
You know what? You know, I mean, I guess like as an overall impression, from one, like, you know, seeing you roll up with the 3 boards, pulling them out, you know, looking at them, like the aesthetics of the board, like the overall shape of the board, it's beautiful. And that's like I'm not talking about the resin tints and the construction, which is also flawless, but the overall look of the board, the aesthetics of the board, like it's got a super nice outline, nice rocker, everything about it like looks really, really good. And then the performance of it, obviously any board that's 9/8 is going to paddle well, but it takes off with a lot of speed. Like it catches waves like really easily. Takes off with a lot of speed. The trim speed was really good. Again, like I'm a novice nose rider. I'm not a good nose rider. But backside in tricky waves, like I was able to start walking to the nose and get close on a lot of waves. And my own experience with anything that's like a nose rider at the high end level of nose rider is the majority of them are like really tricky boards to ride. They like look super cool and they look hip, and you're part of like some nose riding cult, but like you go out there and you nose ride them and you actually are worse than if you had nose ride on something else, you know? And so, but this thing was able, like very first session in challenging waves for nose riding, like you're able to get the feel of it and get up on the nose of the board. And that was really impressive.
I'm glad you feel that way. And we've gotten, and this isn't just hyperbole marketing BS. I mean, this is truth. Like we've gotten feedback from this, the best surfer in Japan named Yuta, and he's over there, and he wrote this beautiful write-up on it. It was very detailed, and he had very similar commentary. And this guy can ride any board he wants, you know. And I think it speaks to the details matter. I think it speaks to the group that's collaborated here, and it speaks to Channel Islands. Like we take it seriously, you know. Like I read comments like Britt always it drives him crazy when people say Mikey February could ride a door. It's like he doesn't want to ride a door. I don't want to ride a door. You don't want to ride a door. And it's kind of like a way of dismissing the work that goes into it, which is very difficult to hear, because all the things you're speaking to, I was rewinding the tape in my head of all the stuff we did. And the details that matter, which is like how Wayne finishes his nose, that little tiny point detail. The fact that Wayne added a slight hip in here that was a nod to Al Merrick. Like if you didn't if I didn't say that, you wouldn't know that. But like, those are the things that we think about, these little details. And this little tiny subtle hip also happens to help the board turn better. So it was like all these cool things coming together. And I do agree with you that it's a beautiful board. And when Wayne shapes these things, he's like, I really enjoy shaping these. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. He's like, I just love shaping them.
Yeah.
He's like, I think this is the best board I've made. Like it's like,
and that's saying something.
Yeah, I don't think he just throws that out.
Yeah.
It's like decades worth of stuff coming together. And I think his love and respect for us and wanting to do such a good job, he just really pushed himself and totally delivered.
Yeah. And I think, another thing that you mentioned, and it's a great barometer reading again on like the whole collab project with you and Wayne, is that you have hardcore longboard shops, like longboard surf shops, that aren't Channel Islands dealers.
Yeah, they've reached out
trying to get these boards. Like, hey, like I know we're not a dealer, but can we get these boards? Which is saying something, because there's a lot of people that would, not knowing anything about the project, would write it off.
Sure.
Because like, oh, they're just doing a Noserider, but they're really more into like shortboards,
Right.
But the fact that you have these established longboard shops reaching out, like trying to get their hands on one, it really says something.
No, it does. And look, we are employee owned and we all take great pride in it. So like, it's extremely satisfying, and there's a lot of like gratitude for Wayne and the end product. And like, when people notice that, it feels good. Whatever you do in your life, whatever work you're doing, when other people notice it and appreciate it, it feels good. It's like, it sort of validates all the work that went into it. And, we've been around since 1969. We're family owned, and like, we're just setting ourselves up to be around for another 55 years. That's our goal.
Right.
So to be a complete brand that can offer the best in all classes, that's our goal. And some people are going to just not be into longboards, and that's okay. But if you do know what you're looking at, you're getting something top notch. And so I'm stoked you came by to try it and wanted to learn more about it. And I hope people aren't falling asleep, because this is a long freaking talk, man.
Well, it never goes short, Devin. If you give the two of us a mic, it never goes short.
If you're still watching this, you are a hero viewer. We're
buying you a Merrick Lager. Anyway, Devin, thank you so much for having us here at Channel Islands.
Thank you.
Surfboards. Viewers, if you are still awake and you have any questions on the Channel Islands Noserider, or would like to purchase one, either stock or custom, you can always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. How many minutes was that? Trip, you're nuts.
50?